today let's talk about a different way to look at your business. Do you feel like sometimes you're just trying to fit all the pieces of your business together like a puzzle? It's a whole lot easier to put a puzzle together when we can see the picture on the box. So in order to make sense of and lead and manage your business, it'd be cool if there was a picture on the box that we could reference so we know where to put all the pieces. It would help us understand what we're trying to build. Then we can understand the structure for how it should function. That we break down, measure, and train others on and improve. Well, I call this model business gears. This is a model for how your business functions. So if you were the Jolly Green Giant when you walked up to your building and you could peel the roof off and you looked down, you could see how the business works. And this would be a representation of the functions that you would observe working together to produce the end result, which for you, it's happy customers with completed work and profit at the end. This is the functional model of your business. It's a way to zoom out and see how it functions, how the gears work together and affect each other. At the top of the machine, we start the business process with an investment in advertising. So at the top of the machine, we throw in some advertising dollars. That investment goes into the first gear, which is the marketing and business development gear. Its function is to take that marketing investment that you made in the business and do its job of turning that money into leads or opportunities. From there, those leads go to a function in your business. It's probably not an actual office somewhere in your business, but it is a function of your business that takes those leads that are developed through your digital marketing efforts or your business development efforts, and it turns them into appointments or an opportunity to get someone out there in front of the customer. And then from there, those appointments then go on to a gear whose function is to sell, is to do the estimates and to sell. They get the yes, that's their function, is to take those appointments, all those face-to-face appointments and turn them into yeses and turn them into sold jobs. From there, those sold jobs then go into the next gear, the production or ops gear. And this is where we do the work. This is where we do the work that our business does. And then when all that's done, out the bottom of our business comes completed jobs with happy customers and, of course, profit. There are a few other gears here that are support gears, and they do things like accounting and HR and IT, some things that are pretty important to make sure that the rest of the main line of the machine operates. So each gear has an input from the previous department, or in the case of the marketing gear, from the investment. It has a function, which is what it does, what that function is, what that gear does, what it's to do, what it's to achieve or produce. And each has an output, meaning what it sends on to the next gear. Each gear also has a manager, the person who is responsible for that function. No matter how small the business is, there is still someone responsible for this function. It may not be all they do, but there is someone responsible for this function. And each gear also has KPIs. These are numbers you keep track of to measure the department's performance, to make sure that gear is running the way you want it to run. There are many KPIs you can track and study, but the ones mentioned here are a good place to start. You determine the KPIs that are relevant to your company. So a deeper dive into the marketing department. So this is whatever you call it in your business. It's business development, marketing, rainmakers, but these are the people who get the opportunities, get the leads, and that's their function. So we talked about how an investment goes in the top. That's our investment in our marketing dollars that we spend in our marketing budget. And they need to produce leads now. And that's their job. They do it through all kinds of different manners, but the function and the focus of this gear is to produce leads. That is what they think about all the time. That is their purpose. And they need to send those leads out to the appointment center so that they can get booked to have someone in person in front of the customer. So a couple of the main KPIs that we use for this gear to make sure that it's operating well is the number of leads or opportunities that are generated and the cost per lead. Now, I like to measure the number of leads that are generated because since this is the first gear in the machine, this kind of sets the pace. So no pressure marketing, but you kind of set the pace of the machine. And it enables us to see as the management to see how fast we are setting the business up to operate right from the get-go. So that number of leads is super important. And the other thing is I also want to make sure that this gear is being efficient. So we talk about efficiencies a lot when we're talking about ops, but when we talk about efficiency in marketing, I want to make sure that they are generating those number of leads, but I also want to make sure that they're paying a reasonable amount for them on average. So that's why I like to track cost per lead. So basically it's all the money that I spent in a given time frame divided by all the leads that were generated in a given time frame to see that one number of cost per lead. Now, obviously it will vary based on different lead sources that have different costs per lead. And if your cost per lead for the whole department is too high, you're probably going to want to dig into what are the reasons why. But as a quick KPI measurement for the business owner or management team, know the cost per lead so you can see how that gear is operating. The appointment center takes those leads then, and they're precious. Remember, we know how much we pay for them per lead because we measure it in the marketing gear. But we take those leads now, and what our job in the appointment center is to convert those leads into set and retained appointments, okay? Set appointments, so they want to make sure they set, schedule someone or dispatch someone out to there. And retained appointments means for things that are set farther out, we want to make sure that they don't cancel. So we put that on the appointment center function as well, because it doesn't do any good to set them and they cancel. If we don't get there, that did no good. It's about setting the appointments and retaining them to make sure it's the appointment center's responsibility to get someone out there. And so that's their output, therefore, is of course appointments, and it's appointments that we retain and we run. So one of their KPIs, their main KPIs, is conversion percentage. I like to talk about conversion percentages because I want to make sure that we're not spending a whole lot of money in the marketing department creating these leads and generating these leads only for the appointment center to not do a great job of converting them. And it comes from a variety of reasons. It comes from not having enough phone coverage during office hours. It comes from not having an after hours plan. It comes from lots of different places where we can dig in and see why we're not converting as well as we are. But it's certainly something that we want to make sure that we're being efficient with there. So that's also an efficiency measurement for that gear. I also like to look at the number of appointments as well. It's obviously going to be a static number based on the number of leads that were generated and the conversion. But I do want to keep an eye on the number of appointments set, because remember, I want to make sure I have as the operator of this machine, I want to make sure that I have a good amount of opportunities to sell to people in a given time frame. So I'll keep an eye on that as well. So that's the main KPIs for the appointment center. The sales estimating department, whatever you call it in your area, in your business, these are the closers. These are the people who get the yes. That's their job. in the end. So they get those appointments from the appointment center, and their job is to convert these appointments into sold jobs that are ready for production with a prepared customer. I know that says a lot, but it kind of takes care of a couple of issues that could happen where it's not ready and the customer maybe isn't ready either. So if that happens in your business and you want to make sure that you clarify that, use the terminology there. Otherwise, you can set that off to the side. Their output is, of course, sold jobs, and their KPIs. I like average dollars per appointment. I like it because it gives me an indication of how well they're using the appointments that are set to them as a one number. If in cases closing percentage and their average dollar per sale together, and it becomes kind of a benchmark number that you can look at and go, okay, it's the expected average dollars per appointment I would expect them to sell. But if it's lower than you expect, then you'd want to dig into, is it a closing issue? Is the percent closing actually too low? Or is their average job size actually too low? So you can dig in a little higher. But like I said, these are quick KPIs that the business, the machine operator or the owner or management team can look at quickly to see are things running well. It's the quick vitals check to make sure things are running well. Another great KPI, of course, sales dollars. We want to know how much we close in a given time frame because it gives us an indication there as well as how fast our machine is running. So the volume at which the machine is running. And then we have the production or installation or construction or ops, whatever you call it in your business. But this is where the rubber meets the road. This is the guys that do the work. This is the work that we do in homes. So they take the input of sold jobs, and their function is to install the work to the quality, safety, and customer expectations and within budget. That's their function. That's their entire function, is to get the work installed correctly, safely, with a happy customer and within budget. That's their job. So therefore, their output after they've done all that really well is a completed jobs with happy customers. So how do we measure them? Well, I like dollars completed, like basically like what you invoiced in a given time frame. I like that as a business, from a business owner perspective, because again, it gives you an indication of the volume that your machine is running. And I also, of course, like cost of goods sold percentage. I want to know that we're operating efficiently with the resources in production. And another common KPI that people will use is Net Promoter Score, NPS. This is an indication of the happiness of our customers. So these are some common KPIs that you see coming from the ops or production department. Some of the support gears, well, the support gears are super important. And so some of their functions vary immensely, but they're definitely there overall is to support the other gears and to make the business function well. So their outputs can vary, but they tend to be things like reporting and cash flow and new employees and technology benefits, all these kinds of things that kind of keep the machine running well as support gears. KPIs that you'll see in HR, you might see employee turnover as a common KPI there. We want to know if we're having a problem with turnover. Definitely a KPI that's used more for businesses that have scaled a bit and gotten a little bit bigger. I think that in smaller business, we just, with smaller numbers, we tend to know, but definitely as you grow, employee turnover is something that you're going to want to measure. And in the accounting department, certainly important things to measure and see all the time is your AR, your accounts receivable, your accounts payable, and your overhead. These are the kinds of things that we want to track and look at all the time from that gear. But the reality is, when it comes right down to it, this machine, this set of gears, this business machine is basically like a money producing machine when it's operating well, because you could put money in the top in your investment in marketing, And when each gear is running well, more money than that comes out of the bottom. And the better your machine runs, the more money it produces. It really is that simple. It's simple, but it's not always easy. But seeing it this way kind of gives you, I hope, a different perspective on when people say work on your business. When anyone says work on your business to me, I immediately think of the business gears as the way that I work on my business. I work on my business by being the machine operator for this set of gears and going in and helping each department manager, each leader in each gear get better, help them by removing the obstacles, help them refocus on their function and get that stuff done. So that's your job. Your job as the business owner or the leader or the management team is to keep these gears running smoothly, efficiently, you know, with everyone focused on their thing, because that's the thing about the business gears is you can see how if someone focuses on each of these gears and does their thing and meets their KPIs, basically the whole machine runs and runs well for you. But here's the thing, you can't manage all these things yourself. You can't. You can't do that effectively. In the beginning, you can when your business is small and the owner does a lot of these functions. But as the business grows, the owner needs to designate someone who's in charge of the gear so they can focus on that gear and the owner can focus on other areas. These are our managers. And once you have a manager in place, you should be able to oversee the functions of that gear just by checking those KPIs and making sure that each one is getting the inputs and verifying the outputs. Someone needs to be responsible for each gear. So soon your business will grow to the point that you don't have to be the manager of each gear. And that's when it gets fun. Now you get to make sure all the gears are running smoothly. You get to take your time removing the gunk that gets between them, oiling them, observing them to see where the hiccups are. Because sometimes the individual gear managers suffer from not being able to see the forest through the trees. So you, with your 30,000-foot view of your business machine, can help them, can see things that they can't. And you can help them get better. So as a leader, you need to understand the different parts of the machine that you are trying to build. You need to understand how they work together, how they feed each other, what's important to measure, and why. It is your job to operate the machine, to make the gears work well together, and to get the sand out from between the gears. Make sure everything's greased so it all runs well. Do you see how important it is to make sure the business as a whole is operating well? So if you're in the field swinging a hammer, who is making the machine work? So what happens when one gear slows down or stops spinning? Well, what about if one day the appointment center function just decided it wasn't going to answer the phone anymore? Or maybe it was going to take hours or days to respond to web inquiries. What would happen to the machine? Well, that gear would slow down for sure. But when that gear slows down, it causes others to slow, because what happens is then they aren't sending in as many appointments to the next gear, to the people who have the opportunity to create sales. And so now we don't have as many sales. And then when we don't have as many sales, we don't have as much to produce. So as a machine operator, it's our job to monitor and tweak the gears when it's needed. If lead's slow, we may need to get in there and spin that gear up with some additional marketing dollars or creative marketing. And if sales slow, we may need to jump in there and do some training. But we don't stay in the gear. We don't make ourselves a job there. Because if we do that, then the other gears will be lacking a leader and they will slow. I know it seems a little bit like it's spinning plates, and at first it might feel like that too. But I assure you, before long, some gears will just chug along by themselves with little intervention from you for quite a while. Other gears will need more of your attention to gain momentum. But momentum is key. Get the gears running and keep the momentum going. This is how you reach your personal goals as a business machine operator. It's the leader's job to identify what is the most important thing right now. And using this model can help you clearly see what area of your business needs improvement most. This helps you identify what's important, what needs your attention, and maybe some additional resources to keep it from slowing down the whole machine. I remember vividly when I was first introduced to this model. It was in 2008 at a business owners meeting. And to me, it was like an epiphany. It changed the way I looked at my business and how I ran it and how I trained people. It changed the trajectory of my business completely. And this is why I get so excited to share it with people, with business owners. I love nothing more than for this to improve your business, your bottom line, most importantly, your life as a business owner. It is through this that I truly understood how to build a functioning business that didn't need me to do everything. So let's start by looking at your business using this model. There's a Business Gears worksheet available, and use some quick KPIs to keep the machine running. Decide what you want to track and figure out a way to get those quick KPIs in front of you often. I mean, daily, weekly, certainly monthly, but keep an eye on those quick KPIs that affect how this machine is running so that you can adjust when needed and assign a function to people as you can. Develop the org chart to match it. If you have any additional questions, just reach out to your advisor.